let's get straight into it. I don't want to keep you guys for too long, although you know I cannot help but to go deep because that's what I do. That's my specialty, to go into the subconscious mind. What I'm going to do today is a live subpersonality eval, like what it looks like. It will be much more condensed. Usually this takes me an hour and a half to do a subpersonality eval with a client. The introduction's more elaborate. And then if you notice on the sheet that I gave you, I think it has like 27 or 28 questions. And that's like to go super, super deep. Okay. But we don't have the time to do that, and also coach you guys on how to do it as well. So I'm going to do a faster version and I'm going to explain to you guys how to tap into this yourself. The idea is that you don't need me. You don't need anyone. You are your own healer. You are your own guide. You are your own therapist, your own coach. Okay. And I want you to get to a place where anytime you're triggered, anytime you see some aspect of yourself that needs healing coming to the light, you don't necessarily need to speak to someone or have a session with someone, but you have the tools and you have the power within you to go sit down and do this work yourself. And that's what I did. These questions, by the way, are channeled questions. They came to me after my training with internal family systems, which is what the subpersonality work is from. They did not have these questions. I came up with these questions for myself because I did not have someone who knew this kind of work who can sit me down and ask me these questions. And so I had to do it for myself. And I did it for like 15 subpersonalities. So for a couple years, I did a lot of this work and I did it on myself. So I want you to learn how to do this work on yourself. Let's do this for a second, okay? So I want you to all to close your eyes and to take a deep breath. Again. And to really feel yourself here and now. To feel the power of love that is here now. To feel yourself fully present, aware, in a state of peace and gratitude. Knowing that we will receive whatever insight is needed for our highest good, for our highest evolution, to serve the agenda of our soul. And so I encourage you to recite the Miracle Worker's Prayer with me. You just repeat after me out loud. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent God who sent me. I don't have to worry about what to say. I don't have to worry about what to do. Because God who sent me here will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing that He is there with me. I will be healed as I let Him continue to teach me to heal. And so it is. Amen. Beautiful. So you should all feel a little more centered and connected after that. All right. So I just asked if Jill's up for it. Okay, great. Yeah, find an eye mask or find like, even if it's a scarf or something, that's fine. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Do you have a scarf, something? Okay, I
Yeah.
see it there. You understand what subpersonality work is and how it works? Do
Yes.
you? Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to do a live demonstration okay, of what it looks like to do a subpersonality evaluation. Okay. Jill, you are going to put your blindfold on.
Now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're going to begin by taking a deep breath and just settle into your chair, feeling very comfortable. And I want you to feel your breath and just notice any sounds around you. Whatever you hear, just notice. Notice the way the clothes you're wearing feels on your skin. Take another deep breath and really feel yourself relaxing, letting all the tension go from your body with every out breath. Relaxing the shoulders, dropping the shoulders. Relaxing your jaw, your tongue, your forehead. Softening the muscles in your face. Letting your back melt into your chair, into the back of your chair. Relaxing your stomach, letting it be all the way loose. Expanding the belly all the way out, continuing to notice the breath. Relaxing the hands and the fingertips. Relaxing your legs, your feet, your toes. And as you feel more and more at peace, more and more calm, notice the tingling in your hands, in your fingertips, under your feet. And let that tingling intensify until it goes all over your body. The tingling in the hands reaches your arms, your neck, your back, your chest. The tingling in your toes reaches your legs, your thighs, your hips. And suddenly your entire body is tingling and vibrating with life force energy. Take another deep breath. And I want you to bring to mind the subpersonality that has been showing up for you recently that you would like to work with today. There's a subpersonality that is affecting your decisions, perhaps, that is altering your behavior in some ways. Some aspect of yourself that is perhaps not enabling you to be the best version of yourself. I want you to bring the label that perfectly describes that subpersonality. And I want you to understand that the subpersonality is a completely separate person with its own separate agenda, its own belief system, its own desires, its own values. I want you to see in your mind's eye this subpersonality, what they look like, what their body language is like. If they look anything different from regular Jill, I want you to notice the way they carry themselves. I want you to notice the tone of their voice, their demeanor. And I want you to get really clear of a vision of them in your mind's eye. Now we're going to bring this subpersonality to the front of your consciousness. And we ask the controller in the mind of Jill and the protector to stand down and simply observe, knowing and trusting that Jill is perfectly safe. We honor this subpersonality and we know that they have a very important role in your life, and we honor their voice. We know they are trying to protect you. And so we now allow this subpersonality to speak through you freely, openly, to take over your consciousness where you will channel them directly. Jill will exit to the back of the consciousness, the true authentic Jill, and this subpersonality will move to the front of the consciousness in the driver's seat. Every question that I ask will be answered to me only by this specific subpersonality. Without thinking of how it sounds, if it makes sense, if it doesn't, Jill, you stand back and you let the subpersonality answer the way it needs to answer, what is true for that persona. You do not question it, you do not doubt it, you let it flow easily. And so we thank this subpersonality for coming forward. As the subpersonality comes forward, it has completely taken over Jill's consciousness, her breath, her body. And Jill is now completely taken over by this subpersonality. So let's start simply with, what is the label that best describes you, subpersonality?
The entertainer.
Wonderful. Thank you, entertainer, for being here with us today. Now, what is your function in Jill's life, or what do you typically do for her in her life? Entertainer?
Make her look fun, not boring. Make her more interesting. And it puts a lot of pressure on me.
Okay, and why exactly do you do that, entertainer?
Because I need people to like me in order to feel safe.
To feel safe from what, entertainer?
To feel safe from people disapproving of me or being alone.
Wonderful. Thank you, entertainer. And what do you suspect would happen if people dislike you or if you're alone, entertainer?
That they talk about me behind my back, that they're saying, gosh, I really thought Jill was easygoing. It was really, really fun to be around. And now she's showing me another side of her. And the less people like me, the more they're right, in a sense.
Wonderful. Thank you. And entertainer, when do you first recall showing up in Jill's life? Do you have a memory as far back as you can go when you first felt the need to entertain? Take your time, entertainer. The first one that comes to you is perfect, even if it's not the very first one.
Yeah. Probably when my stepbrothers at my dad's house, and I have 3 stepbrothers growing up, and they always kind of picked on me and told me that they were just always picking on me, saying that I was like starting stuff, and it would kind of like get my dad to start criticizing me. And then I remember going over the top, trying to like make it so whatever they were saying wasn't true, because I felt that them not liking me was causing a lot of inner turmoil.
So you needed to be liked in order for there not to be internal turmoil. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay. Thank you, entertainer. Now, do you remember when entertaining began to become a normal behavior or pattern in Jill's life?
Yes, because I did it a lot with growing up. I would do it a lot with friends. Like even if I didn't agree with something, if I was like even if I didn't agree with something, I would just go along with it because God forbid I go against what that person said. So I would end up being like making myself all turned around because I wasn't following my heart or what I wanted to do, and I was just doing what everybody else said. So I was doing that with every friends, teachers, jobs, bosses. I mean, I've done it a lot.
Hmm. And what is your typical behavior and your typical pattern, entertainer? How do you show up in Jill's life?
Inauthentic, uh, not like over the top, exaggerated, very uh, inconsistent. Like it's either like one way or another. Like it's all over the place. It's like whatever the vibe is with that person I'm with or whatever, that's the way it goes. It's just very inauthentic, I guess you could say.
Wonderful. Thank you, entertainer. Now, entertainer, what is your usual thought pattern or your usual internal dialogue? What do your thoughts typically sound like when you've taken over Jill?
What is this person thinking of me? How best can I, if I feel like a disservice or like if I feel that that person is not want something from me, or how do I manipulate that person to like me, and then I will go over the top and end up people pleasing or doing something like that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, entertainer. Now, what are your typical emotional patterns? What are the emotions you tend to baseline stay at or tend to feel when you've taken over Jill? How do you make Jill feel, entertainer?
Upset, like I'm constantly I feel like overthink. Is that a feeling? Like overthink, like
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
like overthinking constantly. Like I say one thing, I wish I said another. uh
Indecisive.
yes, indecisive would be the feeling. Indecisive, um upset a lot of the times, overthinking things, and agitated.
So do you also feel anxious?
Anxious, yes, big time, especially in social situations. Now that I don't drink and I'm sober, like this this time in life, I feel very anxious when I have to entertain.
Now, thank you, entertainer. Now, what are your habits? What are the habits you usually like do when you've taken over Jill? How do we know you've taken over? What is that habit that you do?
Twirling my hair,
Oh, very good.
biting the sides of my lip to
Okay.
the point where they're raw and I have canker sores.
Okay.
um Very like in my head, like a habit would be like not being able to, like feeling, yeah, I guess that habit would be like I start to do these like repetitive things like biting my lip or twirling my hair.
Wonderful. That's perfect. Thank you, entertainer. Now, entertainer, what are your greatest fears?
My greatest fears are to be boring. Uh, and what I by boring I mean, yeah, boring. I like to be quiet in a room full of people. If I'm known as the quiet one, quote unquote, that's my biggest fear. Um, to be My biggest fears are, do people think that I'm fake? And another fear that I would have is like you don't yeah, I think those are the main ones.
Wonderful. Thank you, entertainer. And what do you think would happen, entertainer, if you were boring or quiet?
If I was boring or quiet, then I wouldn't be. It's a really hard question.
Take your time, entertainer. We're going into the subconscious mind now, so that's okay. Take a deep breath. This is what it's all about, the fear. So, if you were boring, if you were quiet, what do you think would happen? Just give me the first answer that comes to you if you thought you knew what it was, entertainer.
Then people would think I was lame.
Thank you. And if people would think you're lame, entertainer, then what? What are you afraid would happen then, entertainer?
It's weird. I never really noticed it, but the Step Brothers comment, like, I always felt like, I mean, they would always say, like, oh, Jill, she's gonna tell on us because, like, at that point, I was a young kid, so I wasn't really like drinking. So they were like, oh, Jill's gonna be a tattletale. She's not like cool as us. And I like thought that that was like the worst thing. I was like, why would they, like, I don't know why I care so much. It's like always caring about what other people are thinking about me.
Okay, that's because we're talking to Jill and we're not talking to the entertainer. So I need you to take a deep breath.
Right.
It's probably because the mic wasn't on and we had that, interference. It's okay. No worries. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Relax your body. And I want you to feel totally at peace, totally safe. Relax your shoulders, relax your back. Notice your breathing. Notice your chest as it rises and falls. Relax your feet. Feel as if there are roots growing from the bottom of your feet and a golden light of Christ coming in through the top of your head and just filling every cell in your body. And this golden light glows brighter and brighter and goes and starts to beam from your heart. And it expands and expands until it reaches each and every wall of the room you are sitting in, and you are just sitting in this golden light. And now you see yourself in front of a magical, enchanted staircase. And you begin to go down the stairs. 10, feeling at peace. 9, feeling more and more calm. 8. Every muscle in your body relaxed. 7. You feel like you're flowing. 6. More calm now. 5. More at peace now. 4. Almost there. 3. Totally in a state of complete bliss. 2. More peace than you've ever felt before. 1. And you're there. You take a seat at the bottom of the staircase, and next to you stands an aspect of your consciousness, an aspect of you, a subpersonality that we call the entertainer. She appears before you, and you can see her face, her features, her body. Notice if it looks different than you, Jill. Notice how the entertainer looks, her demeanor, the way she carries herself, whether she's smiling or whether she's frowning. Invite her to sit next to you and give her the microphone. I will ask questions, and we want only the entertainer to answer, not Jill. Jill is in the back of the consciousness, and the entertainer is holding the mic now, and only she can speak at this time. Entertainer, what would happen if Jill was not liked? If she was boring? What are you trying to protect her from? Entertainer.
From being sad.
Very good. What would happen if she was sad? Entertainer.
She would feel empty.
And what would happen if she felt empty? Entertainer.
And she wouldn't be filled with peace. She wouldn't feel happy. She would feel sad.
Thank you, entertainer. And so if Jill feels sad, what does that mean? Why can't she feel sadness? Entertainer.
She can.
So why do you keep trying to keep her from feeling sadness? What does that remind you of? Entertainer.
Because if I can get happiness or validation from other people, then it's limitless. There's so many people out there that I can go to get that from.
Very good. Thank you, entertainer. And so what you're looking for is people to go to, entertainer?
Yes.
Are you afraid of being alone, entertainer?
Yes.
What would happen if you were alone, entertainer? What would happen if you were alone, entertainer?
Then if I was alone, I wouldn't be able to if I were alone,
Mm-hmm.
I would this is hard. This
It's
part.
it's okay. You're doing a great job. Great job. What would happen if you were alone, entertainer? Why are you afraid of being alone? If you thought you knew, just if you thought you knew.
Because feeling abandoned doesn't feel good.
Very good. Thank you. How did you feel when you were abandoned, entertainer?
Lost, like impending doom.
Who abandoned you, entertainer?
My dad, a couple times throughout my life, as well as when he died.
And that impeding, that doom must have felt like your life was falling apart.
Yes.
And so, underneath the distraction of the entertaining, what's really underneath that, entertainer, is the fear of being alone to not feel that pain again of abandonment. So you think that if you convince enough people to like you, then you'll never be alone and feel that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with me. So then, what do you most want, entertainer?
Security. And not to depend on anybody else to make me feel accepted, or I just want to feel that myself.
And what do you need? What do you need now, entertainer?
I need to.
Entertainer,
Mhm.
what do you need?
To let loose, to not be so uptight.
And what do you need specifically from Jill, entertainer? How can she help you? How can she serve you now? What do you need from her?
To tell me that she's got this and she doesn't need me anymore.
Wonderful. And what is your message, entertainer, to Jill? What would you like to say to her?
That you don't need to be exhausting. You don't need to be. It's just exhausting, entertaining, and she doesn't need to do that anymore.
So, what is the medicine? What would be the cure to heal once and for all, this aspect of Jill, the entertainer. What's the medicine here?
To not always feel like you have to fill a void, like empty space or silence is okay. That's like the first thing that comes to my mind is, or the entertainer's mind, is that don't need to always be filling a void. You don't need to always be filling silence. Like, you don't need to be anything you think you need to be.
Wonderful. Thank you, entertainer. Now, I want you to recognize that this filling the void is not about necessarily filling the silence in the room, but filling the void within Jill. The void, the emptiness, the fear of abandonment, of being alone. And when we talk about fear of being alone and fear of being abandoned, we're talking about the fear of not being loved, the fear of feeling that we are not worthy of love, not deserving of love, not lovable. And if we don't have love and we're completely alone and everyone has left us, then what? And that's the pain. And so I invite you, entertainer, to go back to a memory when dad left. Maybe you were waiting for him. Maybe you were expecting to hear from him. Or maybe it was just a regular day when you realized that he left again. And go into your room, little girl, little Jill, entertainer, and feel that doom again. Feel that pain again. Feel that rejection again. You are safe. And as you are in your childhood room, bedroom, and you feel that sense of abandonment, and you feel that sense of unworthiness, and that sense of needing to perform and alter your behavior to never feel this pain again, I want now the authentic Jill, the true Jill, the higher self Jill, to come forward like a glowing white light, like a angel, and sit right next to the entertainer, to that little girl who feels so lost, so broken, so unworthy, so alone. And you sit next to her and you look at her in the eyes and you tell her, little Jill, I have, little Jill,
Little Jill,
I have never left you.
I have never left you.
I will never leave you.
I will never leave you.
I have always been right here by your side.
I have always been right here by your side.
In every experience you've ever experienced,
In every experience you've ever experienced,
including this one,
including this one,
including this abandonment,
including this abandonment,
has always been for the highest good.
has always been for the highest good.
In truth, there is no such thing as abandonment.
In truth, there is no such thing as abandonment.
A soul only decides to leave
A soul only decides to leave
when staying would cause more harm than good.
staying would cause more harm than good.
So it was a blessing.
So it was a blessing.
And so I remind you, little Jill,
I remind you that little Jill,
that you can never be alone
that you can never be alone
because I am always here with you.
because I am always here with you.
I am always watching over you.
I'm always watching over you.
I am always taking care of you.
I'm always taking care of you.
I am your mother now.
I am your mother now.
I am your father now.
I am your father now.
And I will never abandon you.
And I will never abandon you.
You are irreplaceable.
You are irreplaceable.
You do not have to perform anymore.
You do not have to perform anymore.
You do not need to pretend anymore.
You do not need to pretend anymore.
You do not need to wear a mask and please anymore.
You do not need to wear a mask and please anymore.
From this moment on, you are free.
From this moment on, you are free.
I am here with you now.
Because I am here with you now.
And I will never leave your side.
And I will never leave your side.
Now give her a hug. And literally feel her heart mending, her bedroom being filled with light as we implant sacred divine love into this memory. And as we change the past, the present has changed. Jill, little Jill, the entertainer, they are free to be their authentic selves. And the authentic Jill is the exact opposite of this subpersonality. So in truth, Jill authentically is outspoken and strong-willed and perhaps a little opinionated, a little spicy. And she does not care at all if someone likes her or agrees with her or not, because she's so confident within herself. She's actually a very strong leader. And so from this day forward, we have the entertainer and the authentic Jill, the higher self, meet. Today is a new day, and we see the entertainer, the wounded child, hug in your mind's eye the authentic higher self Jill, and they are finally integrated together, and you can get the gifts, you can attain and remain with those gifts of the entertainer, the people skills, the chameleon ability, her ability to read people, all of her wonderful qualities without the fear of being alone, without the fear of abandonment, without the need to be liked. Because she no longer needs people to not feel alone. She no longer needs people to validate her because she is now her authentic self. Take a moment in sacred silence for this integration to be complete. You can give yourself a gentle hug as you hug that little wounded Jill. We say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. And so it is. It is done. Take a deep breath. Wiggle your toes. Wiggle your fingers. Feel yourself here and now. When you're ready, take your time. When you're ready, no rush here. You can remove your eye mask. Beautiful. Take your time. Stretch. Oh, a nice stretch. Shamans go. So I do that in my sessions to clear the energy.
What do they do?
Go like this. Like if
Like a death call.
Clearing the space. So, can you turn the light on? Is it dark in your
Yeah.
bedroom. No, we have the cat come in,
Oh my
watch
God.
the video like most of the time. No, no, no. We need to do something if I'm gonna post these recordings.
He does that. He does it only when I'm on a Zoom call. Every time.
So tell me, what did you feel from that? Did you have any particular insight, breakthrough? How was that for you?
A lot of these experiences or sessions when we do this, it's really hard to like I feel like I should be tapping into more. So it's really hard to let go because my mind is like, no, like this is not what she's asking for. You know, it probably goes back way farther. And so it's kind of frustrating sometimes. But then I have to just trust whatever comes to mind is supposed to come. And I haven't thought about my stepbrothers calling me out in a really long time. Something that needed to come up. And I know we've talked about the abandonment of my dad, but I don't remember that that's why I do this all the time with people,
Yeah,
that I do
you're
the
not supposed to
entertainer. So this
remember.
was a breakthrough.
Yeah, you're not supposed to remember because she's trying to
Don't.
keep it from you.
Yeah.
So it's funny, like when we do the subpersonality work, and it's always the same with every client, right when we're on the money,
Mm-hmm.
right when it's about to come through, that what's really repressed in the subconscious mind, like, no, vaulted back there with chains on, right when we're about to break through, the client goes, I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know. They know. It's just the protector in the subconscious. That's why I asked the protector to stand down, because the protector will be like, nope, that was too much pain for you. Nope, we're not going back there. So
Yeah.
that's what they do. So I know it's working. I know we're on the verge of a breakthrough when you don't know. And sometimes, like the way I had to settle you down, like go back into hypnosis, sometimes I have to do that several times in a session because clients, I can tell when I'm speaking to them and not the subpersonality.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to kind of call that subpersonality out several times. So you just needed to come back. When we came back, it was right there, and then I could feel when you started to go back again.
Mm-hmm.
But still, everything that we got was very valuable because I found it so interesting that you're afraid of silence and you say this need to fill the void. But what you're really doing is filling that void within yourself, that fear of loneliness, the void that was left when you felt that abandonment. That's what you're really trying to fill by having all these people like you. And now that you know it's connected and it's absurd
Yeah.
because it doesn't make any sense, right? Now that we know this, now when you feel like you want to please, like you are putting on that mask, you can go within and tell the entertainer, I will never leave you. I will never leave you. You will never be alone. I'm your best friend and I'm here for you. And you do that, Jill, in the split of the moment. When you notice you're doing this, when you
Yeah.
notice you're doing that, because it's easy to track our habits for everyone listening. It's easy to track our habits. The thoughts can go on unconscious. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're repeating this pattern of anxiety, but you could tell the habit. You can tell when you sleep in. You can tell when you are on social media all day. You can tell when you're overeating. You can tell when you're twirling your hair. You can tell when you're, like me with the seductress, putting my shoulders back. You can tell those little things is very important. So notice when you want to twirl your hair or when you are, or when you're biting your mouth, you're going to say, notice it. Hello, entertainer. In your mind, hello. Even if you're talking to somebody, I don't care. I can be talking to you right now, and in my mind, when you are talking, obviously, I'll say to myself, don't just tune them out. Just say, hi, entertainer. And you'll hear her, develop a relationship with her. Hi, I know that you're trying to convince people to like me so that I don't feel alone because you care about me and you love me and you don't want me to feel that pain of being abandoned. But you don't have to worry about that anymore because I'm here for you now. I will never leave you. I love you. And you become that father in that moment that you needed. You become the mother. You become the father over and over and over again. You have to say what you wanted her to tell you. So, how can she best serve you now? To tell me that she's got this. So you got to tell her, I got this. You got to take over. Stop letting her take over. I got this. Hey, entertainer. Hey, I got this. I got this. And you literally stop. You literally stop the behavior. You catch yourself and you stop. And if you want to say something, you don't. And you give yourself permission. At first, it's going to be difficult because this pattern has been ingrained in you for so long that you literally think that you are this person, but you're
Mhm.
not this person. This is a subpersonality.
I also like that you brought up because when you said the fear, when I said the fear of being alone, and then in my head I go, well, no, because I live alone and I haven't been in a relationship for 5 years. So I'm like, I'm not afraid of being alone. But that's like the lies that I tell myself. Because then you said, no, the feeling of alone is you not being worthy of love or not being loved.
It's all connected. Perhaps you unconsciously started a story when your dad left, that your dad left because he didn't like you, because you weren't enough for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so to you, not being liked in your unconscious mind, not being liked and alone and abandoned is the same. They're interchangeable because deep within the subconscious, you think that you were alone and abandoned because you were not loved and liked enough by whoever, right, to give you that love,
Yeah.
to give you that connection, to give you that attention. And so to you, you kind of morph them into the same thing, but they're not the same thing. So now that you are aware of this, now you have the power to change it. Because before you just thought you were the entertainer. And I don't know, I just want people to like me. And it stays very surface level because that's exactly what it's meant to do. The triggers are just decoys to distract you from going deeper into the subconscious to really heal the root of the issue. Okay. So
Yeah.
being disliked does not mean that I'm going to be alone. And I can never be alone because I am with me. I am my mother. I am my father. I am my lover. I am my sister. I am my brother. I am my best friend. I got me. That's that power. Can you feel that power? Like, I don't care if you like me, if you love me, if you want me. I want me. I like me. I love me. Like, there's a song called I love me. Dun, dun, I don't know about you, but baby, I love me. I play that song every morning with my son because it's like, that's the power. I don't know about you. You don't have to like me, but I love me. You know what I mean? I like me. And so this is an invitation for you, Joe, I think, to form more of a relationship with yourself, to like yourself, to fall in love with yourself, to run you bubble baths, to take yourself on walks, to take yourself out to a nice restaurant, to really like yourself, get to know yourself, who you really are. And who you really are is actually wildly authentic and open and does not care, because the subpersonality always is a mask to the authentic self, which is the opposite. So connect to that girl before the bullying, before the trauma with the dad, before all of that. When you were 3, maybe 4, I'm sure you will go around dancing in the house and you were free and you didn't care. And that's the true you. So connecting back to that. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions before we go?
I don't think so.
Okay. You feel complete?
I do.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm going to see if we have any questions before I go into the exercise.
Okay. Thank you, Erica. I
I
love you.
love you. I love you. Bye. If anybody has any questions or comments on that, put a 1 in the chat. And if not, we will go straight to the exercise. Okay. So I wanted to really do this so that you could see what the preparation is like. You get yourself in your room, you grab your worksheet and look at the names. Look at the names that are there. They're good examples, right? The independent one. Okay, Cesar, I'll get to your question now. Give me 1 second. So the independent one, the control freak, right? I hope you guys read over the list and notice which ones you can highlight them or put a little star next to them, which ones you kind of identify with a little bit. Like, maybe this sounds a little bit like me, or this sounds like an aspect of me. If so, highlight it, note it so that you can do subpersonality work with it. Print out as many as you can of just the questions to do this work. And what you're going to do is, if you have an aspect of you that's insecure, if you have an aspect of you that's lazy, if you have an aspect of you that's critical, I want you to look for the polar opposites within you. Like if you're super generous, but you're also very stingy. If you are very warm and kind, but you're also very harsh, right? And cold hearted. If you long for a loving relationship, but you don't want to ever date again, right? Like those polarities within you are subpersonalities. So notice those aspects of you and notice the one. So right now, what you're going to do is you're going to notice the one subpersonality, the one aspect of your consciousness that seems to be causing the most trouble for you at this time. Sometimes it takes numerous rounds to integrate this. So lately, I've been working with the overwhelmed one and the defective one. The defective one is new. As crazy as it may sound, her function or her role in my life was to make everything worse. It's very interesting if you just stay open and you don't think that there's a possible wrong answer. You just stay open and you really like go into your heart and channel that person. Like it's not you, it's a whole persona with its own set of beliefs. And so you channel that person, and we're going to do that together now. So you guys take yourself into a room when you're alone. And what you do is you notice, right? Like before you go into your room, you notice throughout the day, who is this? Like you get curious, like, oh my God, wow, I was really rude just then. Or wow, I was really like, I really didn't trust this person. Or I was really judgmental just there. That's not really who I really am. So who is this? The judgmental one? The untrustworthy one? Right? Like you begin to understand who it is. Is this a people pleaser? You know, who is this? You ask that question, who is this? And that opens up the space to explore your subconscious mind. And so I want you to ask yourself that question now. Who is this? Who is this aspect of me that is creating dysfunction in my life? And so what you're going to do is you're going to start to answer the questions. You relax yourself. Take a deep breath. You open your heart and you invoke that subpersonality. So I invoke the defective one. And then I begin to ask her, and you begin to do this now. Who are you? Answer that first question. Choose a subpersonality that is most creating dysfunction for you, that is causing suffering for you. If you do not understand yet subpersonality, then the aspect of you that you don't like, that you know is not truly who you are. So who are you? And what is your name? When I say name, I mean, what is your label? A label, not like Joe, but a name, a label that captures their essence. Okay, so who are you and what is your label? A label that captures their essence. Now, we're going to skip some of the questions because of time. You can do it on your own time. But we're going to ask, how old are you, subpersonality? Or how old do you feel? How old are you? Or how old do you feel? Question number 8. What is your typical body language? What is your typical demeanor? Do they stand up straight? Are they kind of like shoulders shrugged? Do they hide away? Are they confident? What is their typical body language or their demeanor? Question number 9. When were you first created, subpersonality? And make sure that you say label, right? The label to that subpersonality. When were you first created, hopeless one, insecure one? And you start going back as far as you can to the first memory. It doesn't have to be the very first time that this subpersonality came online. Just whatever comes up is perfect of a previous time when this subpersonality first started to come online. What was happening in your life at that time when this subpersonality was born? And we're going to go to question 13. What triggers you, subpersonality? What is it that activates you to take over? What triggers you? And what is your question 14? What is your typical emotional state, your baseline emotional state? What are the emotions that you tend to fluctuate between, subpersonality? And what are your question 15? What are your typical thoughts? What is typically the internal dialogue that goes on, the thoughts that happen when you're taking over, subpersonality? What are those thoughts that you tend to have most? And if you really get the hang of this, feel free to answer them and keep going on your own. You don't have to go at my pace. And what is your fear? Oh no, I'm sorry. 16. What are your go-to habits? Like I said with Jill. What are your habits? What are your patterns of subpersonality? And what is your fear? This is probably one of the most important questions, if not the most important question. What is your fear, subpersonality? What are you afraid of? What do you want, subpersonality? What do you want? What will make you happy? Question 19. What do you need? What do you need, subpersonality? Question 21. What do you need specifically from me now, subpersonality? What do you need from me now? Question 24. What is your message to me now? What do you have to say to me? What is your message, subpersonality? Beautiful. And what you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes each and every time you do your subpersonality work. You're going to see the child, the wounded child that is this subpersonality. And whatever their fear is, you are going to reassure them that that fear is not possible. Because whether they're afraid of rejection, whether they're afraid of being alone, whether they're afraid of not being loved, whatever they're afraid of, you have it. The higher self, the true self, the Christ self has it already. And now you are the mother to that little child. You are the father to that little child. And you will offer that subpersonality, which is just a wounded child, that unconditional love, and soothe their fears and reassure them that you are there, that you will never leave them, that you will never betray them, that they are irreplaceable, that they are secure in you. Whatever it is that they need to hear, you give it to them now. And then beneath that wounded child, I want you to see the authentic self, the higher self, the true self. And you allow for that wounded child and the authentic self to meet, to finally see each other. And they hug each other and they embrace each other. And the little child says to the higher self, the true self, thank you. Thank you for coming back for me. I love you. And the higher self, the true self, says to that little wounded child, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done to help protect me, to help keep me safe. I love you so much, but I'm not a child anymore. I am capable now. I know who I am now, and I don't need this mask anymore. And you can imagine that higher self, that true self, just taking off that mask, dropping it down to the floor. That little wounded child becomes that perfect, innocent, joyful, pure child that he was always meant to be, and goes into the heart space, and both of you integrate together. And you take this moment to let that integration feel complete as you embrace one another and smile. From today forward, you are free of this mask. You will no longer let the subpersonality take over your consciousness. And anytime you notice that they are coming forward, you will tell them, I am your mother now. I am your father now. I am here for you now. I am all that you need. I love you. I'm here to protect you. I'm by your side. And you will give to that child what it is seeking outside of itself, and you will soothe its fears. And that is the healing. That is the process of the subpersonality healing work. And so if you closed your eyes, I invite you to open them. If they're already open, go ahead and give me a nice stretch. Caesar, I know that you wanted to share or you had a question. So I'm going to call you up, Caesar. I'm going to invite you onto the virtual stage, okay?
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi. I'm having technical difficulties with the camera, but at least the audio is there, no less. So, apologies.
Sure.
Yeah, this. I know. I know. We probably talked about this similar before. That sometimes when going through this, it's not always easy to go through. That being said, I think that it's going to go to a question when going through the session of subpersonalities, and I'm going to say, for example, for me, the self-harmer. Um, is there? I hope this question may be clear. Confronting the self harmer, could the self harmer be emotional at times when trying to address certain issues with me?
Can the self harmer be emotional at times when confronting issues with you? Did I get that right?
Yes,
Can you clarify a little bit more what you mean by that? Because, yes, the self harmer would have its own emotional pattern.
I think that when we were going through the session, that the self harmer started to question me, like, you know, it's what are you doing, you know? And this is gonna be a blunt for a moment, but of me, asking me like, what makes you think you can do this? Like, what makes you think like you're capable of even doing this without having the absolute fear of judgment, being disconnected, being distant, hiding yourself in the shadows again? Again, these are just examples of what I was kind of going through in the session, privately, of course.
Yeah. And I could feel how, even when you say that, I could feel the self harmer coming through. It's very charged and it's been fed well enough so that it has this dominance over you, Caesar, which I've worked with the self harmer before. That's why you see it. I think it's on the worksheet. Um, so the self harmer, what happens to our sub personalities is I want you to see them as actual beings, actual entities, especially the very, very dense ones, like the self harmer and shame are one. And shame is one of the densest emotions, actually. I think it's like the second densest emotion that exists, or the first. And so there needs to be work here with shame. Okay. So that's a side note. But the self harmer, from what I see, they are trying to inflict pain to keep you from feeling pain. Um, And so it's like you're in control because you're doing it to yourself. But on a deeper level, because of the shame, you feel that you're deserving of it. And so most of the people that I have worked with who have the self harmer were harmed by their caretakers, meaning they were usually physically abused or experienced some form of abuse from a caretaker that harmed them. And so they later create this self harmer to inflict the pain within themselves because the subpersonality is always going to create the very thing that it's afraid of. I don't know if you remember that in the last class, I said that. It's always going to create what it's afraid of. So, like Jill, her entertainer is afraid of others seeing her as fake. And so she makes sure that she's absolutely fake by wearing a mask. It doesn't make any sense. And so you, the self harmer, wants to keep you from feeling pain from others by inflicting pain on you, by you. You understand? So, to answer your question, it's normal that you can hear feedback. I'm a Course in Miracles teacher, and there's a quote that the ego first is suspicious and then it becomes vicious. And this is an aspect of the ego because the ego lives to survive, and this is a survival mechanism. And so the subpersonalities can become vicious. You can hear them yell. You can hear them get really angry. You can hear them have this reaction internally. I've seen it before, especially for the ones that are very well fed. And what feeds the subpersonalities is behavior. Behavior. So for you, you need to write down, and I could understand why you're not on the camera. I applaud you, Caesar. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage to get up here, in front of other people and talk about these things. So I wholeheartedly feel you. And I want you to know that this is a safe space. You are not being judged. We are all messed up. Okay. And we all have our things. So I'm really proud of you, Caesar, for even saying this, getting on stage and even talking about it. So I want you to know that I see you. Okay. The first thing you have to do is stop feeding the behavior. So when is the last time that the behavior was fed?
This was fed recently in one of your videos, actually.
Okay. So you cannot feed it anymore. And it's going to convince you. It's going to give you every excuse in the book. It's going to tell you one more time. Okay. But it's up to you. I want you to envision that it is little Caesar. Would you harm little Caesar?
No, no, I wouldn't.
So the next time, do you have a son or a child?
No, I don't have any children, actually.
Okay. The next time that you want that this self-harmer is activated and it's taking over and it wants to inflict harm, I want you to imagine for a moment that it's not the self-harmer at all, because it's not. He's just trying to protect you. It is a little wounded child that was first harmed underneath the self-harmer. And so when you want to act on the behavior, Caesar, you're going to go within yourself and you're going to say, "It's okay, little Caesar." Can you say that with me now? It's okay, little Caesar.
It's okay.
I know you're in pain.
I know you're in pain, and I understand.
I understand you, and I'm sorry for what you've gone through.
I understand you, and I'm so sorry for the pain and the misunderstandings that you've gone through.
You don't have to do this anymore.
You don't have to do this. You don't have to go through this anymore.
I will not let anyone harm you.
I won't let anyone harm you
Ever again.
ever again,
Including you.
including me.
I am here to protect you
I'm here to protect you
from you.
from you.
I will never let you be harmed again.
My promise is I will never let you be harmed again.
I love you.
I love you.
And you just give him a hug. You reassure him that he is safe, he is loved, he is understood. You are safe, you are loved, you are understood. And you do not feed that behavior every time you want to. You're going to. Do you have a childhood picture of yourself before the age of 7 years old, 2 and 7?
I do.
You're going to get that picture of yourself. A picture, especially if you can find one that you connect to between the age of 2 and 7. And you're going to put that picture on your mirror, in your bathroom mirror, I don't know, on top of your laptop, somewhere where you can see it all the time. And every time you see that picture, you talk to that little boy and you become his father and you become his mother and you become his protector and you tell him what he needs to hear and what he needed to hear. And you give him the love that he never really got, that he wanted, that he needed. It's up to you now, Caesar. We're going to let your mom off the hook, let your dad off the hook, whatever caretakers, whoever inflicted harm on you, we're going to release them from their function and see them as souls that had played their parts perfectly for you. And we will get into that later in the healing process. But right now, step one to healing is validation. And we're going to do that in our next class. Validation, validation, validation. You need to validate the pain. Before you let anything go, you need to hold it. You need to hold it before you let it go. So you got to hold that little boy. You got to become his father and his mother. You got to talk to him every day. You got to take him out to ride his bike. Whatever it was that you like to do as a child, take a walk in the forest, play video games, something that is not violent, because that will also feed the self-harmer. You cannot watch anything that harms other people, because that will also feed the self-harmer. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, for your homework, besides this, I want you to write down, I want you to think of shame. And you're going to write down, what areas do I feel shame? What experiences from my past do I feel shame around? What has caused this shame within me? What am I ashamed of? Am I ashamed of my body? Am I ashamed of my sexuality? Am I ashamed of my IQ? Am I ashamed of something that I did in the past? Am I ashamed of being molested, being abused, being weak? What are you ashamed of? What are those stories? Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I
And you're
say a
going to,
moment? Should I
yes.
say a moment? Or
Yes, please.
yeah, I'm ashamed of my body because I look overweight. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm ashamed of my body, and I can't even like look at myself in the mirror at times. I can't. It's just sorry.
Caesar, you're talking to your mirror, my brother. I know all about body shame and body image dysmorphic disorder. I lost 100 pounds, but I still see myself like I weigh 245, you know? So trust me, I understand that. And you're talking to the right coach, to the right healer, because trust me, we're going to heal that. You and me together. We're going to heal that. And the first step we're going to take is you need to come up on camera. I knew that this is not true. Trust me, I hate being on camera myself. I hate it. But you know why I started my channel and my TikToks? To get over that fear. So you need to start coming up on camera. Okay?
I'm gonna
You need to start facing that fear. Okay. Record yourself, open up a TikTok, open up a YouTube, start getting comfortable looking at yourself in the camera. Okay. And I want you to begin to say this affirmation: I am not a body. Can you say that? I am not a body.
I am not a body.
I have a body.
I have a body.
My body is a tool
My body is a tool
to navigate this 3D world,
to navigate this 3D world,
but I am spirit.
but I am spirit.
I am spirit.
But I am spirit.
I am Christ.
I am Christ.
That's who you are. This body is just a meat suit. So I don't want to overwhelm you with too much to do at once. Okay. Start recording yourself, open up a TikTok, open up a YouTube, start talking about things that you like. I don't care what it's about, something positive. Okay. Copy me, do messages of faith, whatever you want to do. Talk to the you. When I do videos for YouTube and TikTok, I talk to one person. I feel that one person. And I talk to that one person. And that one person is usually a past version of me or an aspect of me that I'm speaking to directly. Okay. And that's the healing. So do something like that if that resonates and start to get comfortable with your body. I encourage you to wear something that makes you feel uncomfortable and to really face that discomfort. Like you could feel that discomfort. And when you do, you say this. Write this down. Humility. 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 Anytime I feel afraid of how I look, I'm like, no. Humility. Humility. It feels so beautiful to say that. Like I can have a big nose. I could be chunky. I could be whatever, but I'm humble. I love. You need to start to shift your identity from your sense of value coming from the way you look to your sense of value coming from the light that you are and the love that you bring. It's like when I walk into a room, I feel so confident because I know I'm literally raising the vibration in that room. I'm raising the vibration in that room. And that's what makes me beautiful. That's what makes me special. That's what makes you beautiful. That's what makes you special. Your love. So I want you to start shifting. My sense of value comes from my physical body to my sense of value comes from the light that I radiate and the love that I radiate. And you start to like yourself because you really like yourself. Like how loving you are, how kind you are, how humble you are, how compassionate you are. You understand? We need to start focusing on your good qualities. And I have a session where we're going to sit down. There's so many things to cover, guys, in mastery, but one of these sessions, I want to go over all of your good qualities. And like, we tend to focus on the denser, more negative things, but there's so many beautiful qualities if we can just shift our focus. You are beautiful, Caesar. You have such a beautiful heart. You are pure. Your intentions are good. Like, you have no idea how much you make the world better because you exist. And I'm not just saying that, I'm saying that to you, and I'm saying that to each and every person in this room. Like, you guys are amazing. Okay, so it's time to get out of the matrix. Anytime you're thinking fat or thin, anytime you think of duality, that's the matrix. Get out of the matrix. The matrix says you need to look a certain way, you need to be a certain way, you need to whatever to be worthy. That's a program. Exit that program. It's time. Okay?
To embrace the light.
Yes, you are the light. You embrace yourself.
It's true.
So for now, remember, stop the behavior. Okay? Stop the behavior for the self-harmer. Write down every area that you feel shame. Okay? And then once you finish that, I will give you part 2. I'll send you a homework assignment. And I want you to go into the mirror every day before you go into the shower or anytime when you're going to get dressed. And you're going to hold your body, especially the parts that you feel a lot of shame about. And this is for all of you, Jill, Joshua, David. If any of you feel shame around your body, I still do this all the time when I start to get judgmental. You literally hug the parts of you that you feel most shame, whether it's your stomach. You hold them and you tell yourself, I love you and I accept you just the way that you are. Just like a baby has little rolls all over its body and it's so yummy and delicious. That's the same way that you look at yourself. You know what I mean? Perfect. And if you want to do something about your weight, like I did, you can. And I can give you all the tools for that too, because I've done that. You know what I mean? So trust that you're on the right path, one step at a time. Do your mirror exercise every day. I love myself. I accept myself the way that I am. And I release the shame in the name and in the power of Christ, of God, of my higher self, whatever resonates with you, but you release it with intention and you claim your true, authentic self that loves and accepts yourself just the way that you are. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Any questions before we go?
One last thing before I go.
Okay.
Remember reading this, and that is, sometimes it's not about a race in the dark, but understanding it. And to understand it for it sometimes it's probably for understanding and compassion. And I think I see, after everything that was said today, I think I have more of an understanding of that.
Yeah. Wonderful. It's all about balance and it's all about understanding. It's not about cursing the darkness because the darkness has its function. You know, the darkness has its function. So it's respecting and honoring the darkness and the contrast that the darkness brings to show us the way, to lead us to the light. It's a beautiful journey if we don't have judgments about it. If we trust that we are where we're supposed to be and all things are working together for our highest good. I would not be who I am now, Caesar, were it not for all of that pain and all of what I've overcome. You know what I mean?
It truly is the journey in every way.
Yeah. And did you get any, really quick before we go, did you get any like insights, or when you did the work yourself writing it, did you like get any information that was interesting to you?
I felt something when I was like, when you were going through the session with Jill.
Okay.
I may have accidentally typed it, but like, just really just kind of in the very beginning of the questions of who are you, like what is your interest, what are your needs, etc. And there's some things that were just coming out of it during that session.
Wonderful. When we finish our call today, you might be tired. Don't push yourself. tomorrow or in the next few days, sit down with yourself and do this work. You are very empathic, you're very intuitive, and you will be able to master this very easily and quickly, just like I did. And then you can teach it.
I hope so. God willing.
One step at a time.
Absolutely. One step at a time. Taking one moment at a time, as he did.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Caesar. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your help. It means the world to me. And, you know, I just thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. So bye for now. Bye, everyone. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you all for staying over time and doing this work. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you all in our next session.